Hello, thank you for joining us and watching this video. My name is Rachel Bovine. I'm the founder of a company called The Poppy and the Olive Branch, which you obviously know if you are watching this video. Before I get started in telling you my chronic pain story, I just want to thank you so much for joining the chronic pain coaching program. I am so excited for all of the things that are in store for you. We have so much to do and wonderful things that are coming to try and help you manage your chronic pain, and not just manage it, but also heal from chronic pain. I will tell you that being a survivor of chronic pain, it is possible to quiet those brain sensors, and it is possible to live your life the way that you should, being very fulfilled and just full of everything that life is meant to be. And so thank you for this opportunity to work with you. I really am truly so excited. So at the start of this, I just wanted to give you guys a glimpse into my chronic pain story. Sometimes it's helpful to hear other people's pain stories so that we can know that there are other people out there that are just like us and have gone through things that are similar, unique to themselves, but similar in terms of what comes along with chronic pain. And so that's the purpose of this video, is to just welcome you and let you know that there are others who have been there. I have been there. And that's why I'm so passionate about this program and so excited to work with you. I get a little emotional when I talk about my chronic pain story because it's difficult to talk about. And it's difficult talking about yourself too. But I ended up with chronic pain after the birth of my daughter, Harper. I went through a pretty traumatic pregnancy that included a partial placenta abruption. It landed me on 12 weeks of bed rest where I was desperately trying to hang on to this baby and make sure that, I was doing everything that I could to have her be safe and not have more tearing of the placental lining. I had a history of back issues before my chronic pain developed. I have a 30-degree curvature to my spine, scoliosis that the doctors even today will look at on x-rays and say, how in the heck are you walking? They didn't catch it until I was older, so I never had any rods or anything like that. But I did have back pain on and off again throughout the years. And I actually learned to manage that through aggressive exercise. I was a marathon runner. I kept my body very strong, my core very strong, and it helped me a lot. I also was doing things that I thought was right by trying to eat healthy, live a pretty healthy life for the most part. And, I just wasn't what you would think of as somebody who developed chronic pain, or as the stigma goes, right? Because now we know that there absolutely is no category of individuals at all who falls into an area of you're susceptible to chronic pain. There's no stigma that can be developed around it. People who are poor develop chronic pain. People who are wealthy develop chronic pain. If you're white, if you're black, it doesn't matter. If you're a male versus a female, it doesn't matter. Any socioeconomic status, any background, when you might have heard the false stigma around, something must have happened to you to bring about your chronic pain. There must be some terrible trauma that took place. Well, there might have been. There might have been some trauma back in the day, but you didn't cause your chronic pain. There's nothing that you did that could have set you up for chronic pain or could have really saved you from what you're going through with chronic pain. That being said, there's hope and there is light. Don't give that up. I promise you it's possible to get better, and you will get better, and we're going to work on getting you better. So now that I've said that, I will tell you kind of my story. I had my daughter Harper after the partial placenta abruption. When I went to go and have her, the hospital that was supposed to be doing the high-risk delivery was on divert. So we ended up going to a different hospital that was a teaching hospital to deliver her. I had 24 hours of labor. It was very intense and very trying, but there wasn't really anything that went completely awry. I had a few strange things happen. One of which was when I was going to push, I heard an audible pop. I didn't know what it was, but I just proceeded to deliver her. And here she comes. She's a 6-pound, beautiful baby with really dark hair. Looked just like my husband in baby form when she came out, and everything seemed great. Except that the back pain that I had been having when I was on bed rest didn't stop. And I was really expecting that once I delivered her that it would stop. I remember asking the nurse about why I was in so much pain, why my lower back hurt so bad, why I was having, pain in my hips and things like that, that seemingly should go away after delivery, excuse me. And literally, the nurse at the time told me just to breastfeed her because it would release hormones that would help with the pain. I knew something wasn't right. And that was a really difficult response to me trying to say, no, the pain's very bad and I don't know what's happening. Needless to say, I ended up going home with this beautiful baby, and I was ready to be in full mama mode, taking care of her and relishing in the joys that I had in delivering her and bringing her to this world. And I came home and my pain didn't go away. It still hadn't gone away. So a couple of weeks after delivering Harper, I placed a call to a physical therapist that I had been working with throughout my pregnancy. And I reached out to her and I said, not only have I had this pain, but it's gotten significantly worse. I am doubled over. I can't walk. I can't hardly stand up. I cannot bend my back, backwards, leaning back at all. And I proceeded to kind of tell her what my symptoms were. And she said, you have to come in and see me immediately. Well, it's really hard after you've had a baby to go through a physical examination because everything is still out of place and things still are kind of awry and your joints and everything are coming back together. So it was challenging because they didn't really know what they were looking for and were trying to figure out what on earth was going on. I began physical therapy during that time, and every time that I would leave physical therapy, my pain was so much worse. I would come home trying to take care of this little itty bitty baby and my older daughter, who was 20 months older than Harper. And I couldn't move. I couldn't move. Everything in me was trying to keep up with the pace of 2 babies at home. Everything in me was trying to move forward with, enjoying our life. And everything in me hurt so bad. I ended up going through about 2.5 years longer of chronic pain. Boy, I went through the gamut. I went from every medical doctor to another medical doctor to try and figure out what on earth was wrong with me. I had MRIs done extensively. I had x-rays done extensively. They could find some things that looked like they could be contributing to the pain. And we were trying to treat those. Like I had a slight SI joint separation going on, which can be extremely painful. My hip was hurting. My right hip was hurting so bad. It was terrible. They were looking at my lower back, my L1 through my L5. They ended up finding some disc degeneration that was going on there. But disc degeneration oftentimes shouldn't be the contributor to that extensive of pain. So it was extremely frustrating to me. Finding out that information, I ended up going down to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. I was also diagnosed with pelvic floor dysfunction in all 3 layers of my pelvic floor. And that just meant that they were spasming. My pelvic floor was literally spasmed. Any kind of examination would send me through the roof in terms of pain. And it was all going on for far too long. When things finally hit a month, 2 months, 3 months of not being able to get rid of this pain, the doctors told me that I was technically categorized as a chronic pain person. The information that I was told was that chronic pain was, we could manage the symptoms of it, but unfortunately, after you hit the 3-month mark of constant pain, it's really, really hard, if not impossible, to rewire your system, and the chances of that pain going away are slim. Now, I'll pause there and say, that's what this program is all about. Don't always believe everything that you're told, or at least take it with a grain of salt. But continuing on with my story, I went down to the Mayo Clinic. I had exploratory surgery done. They were trying to figure out all ways that this pain could be manifesting in my body, and I had a history of endometriosis. So they did exploratory surgery to take a look, because one of the theories was brought to me around maybe you need to have a total hysterectomy. Now, granted, everything that every doctor was saying to me was from a place of trying to provide support, trying to figure things out, trying to heal me, trying to make sure that they were doing everything that they could to fix whatever was going on or decrease the symptoms. So after that exploratory surgery, I met with my OBGYN. And after a physical examination and looking at my history of endometriosis and some other things that had taken place and complexities with my overall reproductive system, the decision was made that we needed to do a total hysterectomy. That means take everything out, everything. So I went on hormone therapy that put me into a state of menopause at the age of 33. I began menopause, hot flashes, everything that goes along with that, and then ended up having a total hysterectomy, which was only, 6 weeks after my exploratory surgery. I had been from emergency room to emergency room to emergency room because my pain flares would get so bad that I would literally be moaning in my room, unable to move at all. I couldn't keep up with my day-to-day life. I couldn't keep up with household chores. It was totally challenging to even sweep my floor. My mother, actually, she's a angel, and she brought over lots of new cleaning tools that would help me, to be able to clean my floors without having to physically get down on them. I remember one day I was folding clothes on the floor, and my sister and my mom stopped over, and I was just sobbing. The pain was so bad from just bending over and reaching over to be able to fold clothes on the floor. I would have a good day where I would feel like I could do a little bit more, and I would try and go to something like the grocery store or Costco, and the rest of the day was spent flat on my back. The day after was spent flat on my back. There wasn't really a whole lot of things that provided relief to me. I was trying everything: Tylenol, ibuprofen. They began pain management regimens, which did provide some support for a period of time. I had every kind of pain management protocol, working with pain clinics to try and figure out different drugs that could help my pain. They might help for a little bit of time, but then the pain would just creep right back up. So when I had my total hysterectomy, I was in such a state of pain. My pain sensors were so ramped up and so high that I had a very thorough meeting with my providers at the time, coordinating with the pain clinic professionals as well as my surgeon to make sure that they had the correct protocol for after I was done, and making sure that I had the right pain management support. One of the scariest times in my life came when I was in the hospital after the total hysterectomy, and I didn't really know that it was the scariest time in my life, to be honest with you, until afterwards. See, they knew that I was going to be in a heightened state of pain, so they decided to put me on a pain pump in the hospital so that I could self-administer via the button all of the pain medication that I needed to keep me comfortable after the surgery. We also had a plan that I was going to stay in the hospital for at least 2 days, if not 4, depending on how my pain was being managed, until they got me to a point that I was managed enough that I could go home. One of the only things that I remember from the hospital was my OBGYN coming in and checking on me, and the nurses said to her that I had maxed out the number of times that I could hit the pain pump. The next thing that I remember was her asking if there was Narcan that they could grab and have on the nightstand next to me. I knew enough to know what Narcan was. And so I remember asking them why I would need that. And they said, well, honey, every bit of pain medication that we put in that pain pump, you've used. And I said, what? And I said, and how long? And I remember them saying a time period. I don't remember exactly what it was. But I was in so much pain that when I was subconsciously able to hit that pain pump, I maxed it out in such a short time frame that I had given myself essentially my daily dose in a matter of hours. That's how bad the pain was. I don't remember a lot, again, because I probably was on so many medications that I just was completely out of it. So they started administering oxycodone in the hospital, and had Narcan on the nightstand. At that point in time, I was taking, I think it was 3 pills of oxycodone about every 3 hours just to try and stay on top of my pain. I was vomiting nonstop from both the pain and the medications. I was getting headaches like you wouldn't believe. I was on IVs because they had to make sure that I was getting enough fluids to support the medications. This is stuff I've never shared. Why? Because I never wanted people to look at me that way, to know that about me, or to come up with their own fabricated story around the use of the pain medications during that time. I haven't wanted to be associated with it at all because I don't want to be judged. But I wasn't even fully coherent. And that's how much pain my brain and my nervous system was telling me that I was in. And it was real. So I left the hospital and they put me on in-home care because I still required extensive pain management and support. It was a good idea to have nurses oversee that and to also give me IV fluids to try and make sure that I was keeping well hydrated. I still wasn't able to eat to keep very much down at all. I literally was having vomiting spells so bad post-surgery that it felt like I was tearing absolutely everything. And you know what? One day I did. I ended up with migraine headaches so bad, and I was vomiting so bad, my body went into complete shock, and I literally tore my abdominal wall by about 2 to 3 inches, by 2 to 3 inches long, by about that much. You could see my muscle tissue underneath where I had my incision. And that was another visit to the ER. So for the next few weeks, I was on in-home care. I went through all of that. To go back and even talk about it is, words don't even express how terrible that was. I was still trying to have a relationship with my children. I was still trying to let them know that mom was okay, even though I didn't know if I was going to be okay. And it was a really scary thing. So I would prop my babies up on the bed next to me and read to them, do anything that I could with them from my bed, um, and try and let them know that I was still there. When I tore my abdominal wall, I actually had to call an ambulance for that incident, and they were having difficulties even getting me out of the bed because I was in so much pain. So they used what's called a flexible gurney, I believe it is, instead of the regular board that they would bring you out on to get into the ambulance. They had something that was flexible and soft. It wasn't black. I believe it was like an off-white in color. However, when they went to carry me out in this thing, I just remember screaming because I was in so much pain. And they went to go down my front steps outside of my main door and accidentally dropped me on my flower bed. Now I look back on it and I can laugh, but it was pretty alarming at the time. My twin brother actually drove by in his truck, I found out later on. And my neighbors came out to see what was going on. And honest to God, later on, people were calling because they didn't know what had happened and they thought I was in a body bag. I can laugh about that now, but at the time, it was horrendous. It was terrible. It was traumatizing. Boy, I'll tell you, I've never felt that sick in my entire life. It was horrible. So months passed. I kept working with my doctors. Nobody could figure out how to get the pain to subside. I found out later that that audible pop that I had heard during my delivery was actually my tailbone breaking into the forward position. My doctors didn't need an x-ray. They could feel it like this, bent like this. And so they knew that that also could be contributing to the nerve pain that was going on in my SI joint, in my hip, all the way down my leg, all the way up, halfway up my lower back. And so there was a lot of discussions around what do we do? These are things that we could do surgery on to try and see if we could fuse the SI joint, to try and see if we could, do something else. But mainly I needed symptom management. So I began working with my second pain clinic, and I actually found a wonderful doctor, an anesthesiologist to be specific. Yeah, can you believe it? I had my own anesthesiologist. For the next many months, I'll say probably like 6 months to a year, I went through spinal injections like you wouldn't believe. I think I had 16 in total. So I had them in my SI joint, I had them in my hips, I had them in my lower back. I actually ended up having one later in my occipital nerve into my skull twice. That was not fun. I had them all over the place. They were continuing to evaluate the pain management regimen. And when they took a look at my medications, they said to me, Rachel, you have to get off from this immediately. You're actually on a potentially lethal combination of drugs. I wasn't at the highest number. I wasn't at the highest dosage. But I was on pain medications that weren't supposed to be given together. And the hard part there is I don't blame my doctor. The CDC report on even the interactions between pain meds didn't come out until right around that time. And it's education, it's awareness, it's knowledge. We know a lot more now, even in the last several months, than we did before. It was nobody's fault. Everybody was trying to help me. Everybody was trying to help me get back to being me. So that brought on an immediate response from me of, I have to get off of this crap. I haven't wanted to be on this pain medicine. It's not helping me. I feel like It will help at times, but it's just nothing that I want to be on. I'm afraid of it every time that I take it. I'm afraid of going out and about. I'm afraid of driving. I'm afraid of the stigmas associated with it. I don't want people to think of me that way. The whole host of everything that goes through your brain. And mainly, I felt like a burden. I felt like a burden on my family and on everybody that I knew. So I wanted to try and figure out how to get off from everything and at least be able to be 100% me again. So I went through a very aggressive taper schedule, which gives a whole host of withdrawal. You don't have to be an addict to go through withdrawal. You don't have to be, mentally dependent on something. Your body becomes physically dependent. And I was also concerned that maybe my pain was sticking around because of this lovely thing that they called hypersensitization, which is when your body becomes so used to the pain medications that it actually is giving you pain. It was something that I resented the thought of at the time, but I wanted to figure it out if I really had hypersensitization or not. And the only way to know was by getting off from it. Well, for the next probably 3 weeks, I was on my bedroom floor praying to God for mercy, praying that he would somehow make me strong enough to get through everything. My pain went up way higher as I was weaning off from the medications. Every morning that I woke up, I was in pain. Horrible pain. Then my medication would kick in, the little bit that I was still on. I would kind of taper off a little bit throughout the day. And by about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was in so much pain, and it just kept going higher and higher and higher and higher. If I went out and did activities, if I tried to exert myself in any way, my pain would just creep up even faster throughout the day. Boy, that was a low time. It was a really low time in terms of my self-esteem, in terms of any sort of confidence that I had about myself, in terms of my thoughts, my thought process, and my self-love. And I literally thought, how on earth can I do this to my husband and to my kids? They deserve so much better. It was really hard. And at times I even wondered if they'd have a better life if I just wasn't in the picture. Mainly because I wanted them to live fulfilled and to be around happy things all the time. And even though I was happy, it was really hard to be fully present. So I went through a whole exploration process around my chronic pain. And I'll tell you, I was at the lowest point in the world. I didn't know how it was going to go away. I was praying and meditating and praying and pleading with God to somehow give me a way out of this and not let this be for the rest of my life, because I couldn't imagine even how tomorrow was going to be. I couldn't even see tomorrow. I couldn't get excited about it. I was so afraid of what tomorrow would bring, even if it was like a picnic, because the picnic just sounded terrible to me. By the grace of God, I ended up landing on a lot of information, extensive research that I was doing, and the right people at the right time. The providers that I was working with challenged me in ways. My response wasn't very good to those challenges at the time, but later on, it all pieced together. And through the research and through the interviews with people and through all of the exhausting work that I was doing and trying to figure out, a miracle happened. And I started consciously attempting to try and reprogram my brain and try and reprogram my body and try and reprogram my nerves. And it worked. That's why I'm here today, because I was given an absolute miracle and a blessing that is so, I can't even tell you how grateful I am today. It literally saved my life. And I want to share those things with you. I want to share what I know. I want to share everything that I've learned with you for the hopes that your pain also decreases, for the hopes that you also feel support, for the hopes that you are joyous and thrilled about your future. And also so that you can go and help spread the word. It's going to take a lot of work. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, but it is absolutely possible. There are no guarantees in life. I can't guarantee that 100% of your pain is going to be gone. But I can tell you it's possible. It happened to me. And I believe that it is possible. And I believe that the work that we are going to do and this journey that we're on is for a reason. I believe in you. I believe in the miracles. And I also believe that there's this funny thing called divine intervention, where God always, when he performed miracles, and even when he still does, but God has always said, if a miracle happens to you, go share it. It's in every word. And in fact, it's across multiple different religions. If you're, in a different belief system and you're looking at things, when something like this happens, you go out and you share it. And I want nothing more than for you to go through this journey, to develop the tools, to go through the process, and to come out whole. And that's why we're here. So that's a little bit about my chronic pain story and my journey. It's a very vulnerable place, so I ask that you keep this confidential within our coaching program. And I will keep yours confidential as well, absolutely. So I can't wait to work with you, and I can't wait to see what's in store in the future. It's all good things. Get excited. Believe in all the possibilities. It's there. Bye.